Hi everyone, my name is Tori, this is Novel Life, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have another Worth the Hype video to share with you. So I have read a couple of new releases from the middle to end of October to the beginning of November that I wanted to chat about because some of them have been highly anticipated for a lot of people, and I thought because I read them I would sit down and give you my thoughts on them. So I've already probably talked about some of these books in a books I'm obsessed with or a reading vlog or anything like that, or a wrap up, but I still wanted to put them all in a video just in case if you have not gotten to these new releases and you wanted to see what my thoughts were and to see if you should pick them up or not. I'm going to start with one that came out in October, and that is King of Greed by Anna Huang. So I'm a big Anna Huang fan. King of Wrath, which is the first book in the Kings of Sin series, wasn't my favorite. I skipped King of Pride and I picked up King of Greed, and let me tell you, this book lives up to everything that has been told to you. I think this is one of the best marriage and crisis books I have ever read. I think is absolutely fantastic. I think that Anna Huang did a really good job really honing in on the fact that two people who have been married for 10 years can fall out of love for other reasons besides themselves. They get caught up in life, things happen, things change, they don't know what they want anymore. They've grown up together, but they didn't grow together. And I think when you have been in a long-term relationship or have been married for a long time, you can relate to that. And I think it takes something special for Anna Huang to really talk about that with a very interesting perception and a very interesting point of view. And I think that she did it amazingly. The groveling is very different. A lot of people were saying that this book isn't heavy on the groveling, but it is, but it's in a way that Dominic and Alessandra needed it to be. It's not going to be like Alex Volkov in Twisted Love because he is unhinged and he did other things, you know what I mean? So I will say I think this lived up to the hype. I think this is a beautiful book. I think that Anna Huang did an amazing job with it. So if you're looking to read this book, you can read them out of order. Like I said, I haven't read the second book, and you definitely don't feel lost or anything like that. Each book is a standalone with the different couple. So this book, yes, I gave this one 5-star. I would say it's definitely worth the hype. Another book that came out on Halloween that a lot of people were excited to read was The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy. So if you don't know anything about this book, The Graham Effect is following Garrett Graham's daughter, Gigi Graham, and you see that she's actually a hockey player. She's a female hockey player, which I love. But you also see this kind of next generation of kids where all of the Briar U and off-campus people are now adults and they have their own kids, and their own kids are having stories. And I will say that while those are not always my favorite things to read, Second Generation sometimes isn't my favorite because I'm like, what can you do differently in this series that you didn't do in the original? You know what I mean? But I will say I liked the dynamic of Gigi, and you can definitely tell that she is Garrett Graham's daughter. You can definitely tell. I will say that I gave this book 4 stars. I think this book is too long. I think for Elle Kennedy, I've read a lot of her other books, and I just feel like this one just felt too long. It had too much stuff in it that definitely could have been cut down to make the story less drawn out, because it was drawn out but not with a payoff, if that makes sense. If a book's long, it has to have a really good payoff, and I felt like with this one it didn't give that payoff for it being so long. Of course they had to develop this kind of enemies to friends to lovers aspect with the romance, but I don't think that it needed to be this long. I think she definitely could have cut almost 100 pages out of this book and it would have been a lot better to me. But I did like the dynamics between her and our main male character, Luke Ryder, that you see that they've known each other since they were both kids. He did not know that she was Garrett Graham's daughter, so when he's on the ice ready for this hockey camp when they're kids, she's on the, he thinks that she's just a figure skater taking up ice time, and he, is mocking her and stuff like that. But now that they're older in college, they kind of have this interesting relationship. And I did enjoy it. I listened to the audiobook. I think the audiobook was really, really good. I love the narrators. I think they brought the story to life. So would I say this is worth the hype? No, but it's still a solid read, if that makes sense. I think that the way it was hyped up is Elle Kennedy back in 2015 when she wrote The Deal, and she's changed as a writer. So the hype didn't live up to The Deal, because she's changed as a writer, as writers do change over time, if that makes sense. But I just feel like it wasn't worth the off-campus and Briar U hype, but it was still a solid read and I still enjoyed it. But it's not one of my favorites of the year. That makes sense. Like, I'm just talking critically, okay? Talking critically. The next book I want to talk about is The Worst Kept Secret by QB Tyler. You guys know I love QB Tyler. She is the sweetest. But I will tell you that QB Tyler, she just put something in her books that I really love. There's literally nothing like a QB daddy. There's literally nothing that I've read, forbidden, taboo, like a QB daddy. I will say Lucia Franco has come close with her Hush Hush series, with her Hush Hush book. That it's very close. Like, them two are neck and neck. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I feel like What Was Meant to Be is one of my favorite QB Tyler books, and I feel like it's very hard to beat that. And while Theo and Avery have a very interesting relationship, it has the age gap, it has the sneaking around, it has the forbidden aspect. It's a best friend's dad type of a thing where she had a thing with her best friend back in high school, and now she's into his dad, Theo. So there's that kind of, aspect. Also, her parents know Theo. They've been friends for years. They golf together, like her dad and Theo golf together. So he's been there for most of her childhood. He's helped raise her. He helped her, get out of trouble, things like that. So they have this interesting aspect, and I think that she hit well with the forbidden aspect of it. I just felt like it was missing just a little bit of emotion, the way What Was Meant to Be did it better. I know it's hard comparing like two books that basically came out this year or super close together. But when you write age gap, forbidden, taboo, I'm going to compare them. Do you know what I mean? And I think that like this one was missing just a little bit of emotion that What Was Meant to Be gave me. So I gave it like 4.5 stars, like I said. Is it worth the hype? Yes, it is an amazing age gap, forbidden, taboo. It's hard to compare The Worst Kept Secret by QB Tyler to QB Tyler's What Was Meant to Be. Like, it's the same writer. So I'm being very nitpicky, but like she writes forbidden age gap unlike anyone I've read. So in that case, would I say it's worth the hype? Yes. But I liked What Was Meant to Be better. But I feel like it's unfair because it's comparing her to her own writing, if that makes sense. I don't know. I really don't know if that makes sense. But I did really enjoy this one. It's very spicy. It's very taboo. There's a Ferris wheel scene that is great and fantastic, and all the spicy, steamy, taboo goodness that you get with QB Tyler. So it's a good, solid release that she had. And yeah, I think Theo and Avery has done it well, and they do it well. And I really enjoyed their story. The next book I want to talk about is Ice Bet by S.J. Silvis. I have talked about this book in books I'm obsessed with and I can't stop thinking about, and this is one of them. So I am a big fan of Weekside by S.J. Silvis, and once again, I'm comparing their writing to like book 1 and book 2 by the same author with each other. But I feel like it's very different. Weekside was different, and Ice Bet was more like enemies to lovers, more forbidden, more high stakes. And I gave it 4.5 stars. I still think about that book a lot because I really liked it. I liked it because they had a lot of healing in the book. So I was emotionally connected to the characters. I did receive an arc of this, and I did read it early. But like I said, all of my thoughts, like I'm never going to shy away just because I read a book early. But I will say that it's different from Weekside. So if you're going in thinking that you're going to get the same kind of writing and same kind of storytelling as Weekside, you're not. It's different. So with Ice Bet, you have this whole thing where there is an ice bet going on with the coach's daughter. The players decide that while in, like locker room talk, that they're going to try and make a bet on who can hit the coach's daughter the quickest. Of course, she's sitting in the coach's office, hiding out until everyone leaves, and she hears this. Now, the one person that is supposed to look out for her is one of the players, like the captain. The coach actually went to him and was like, please look out for my daughter. She's rooming across from you, like her room's across from you in the dorms. Just make sure she's staying safe. She's had a hard time. I will say there's content warning for eating disorder. There's content warning for mentions of an eating disorder in the past and mentions of sexual assault previously, but it's not on page. The healing part that I was talking about is why I love this book so much, because he literally starts to fall for her when he doesn't want to. Like, yes, he's doing what his coach is telling him to do and is keeping an eye out for her, but he literally, like, I don't know, he just like has this thing where like as he's doing that, he's starting to see that everything that she puts on is like a mask that like she puts up a front, and like on the inside she's like she's really hurting, she's struggling, and she doesn't really have an outlet for any of that. She can't even use her figure skating, which she's relied on in the past, because she took a fall and now she's terrified to get back on the ice. Like, she has panic attacks. So it's this beautiful like healing journey, but also at the same time, she's teaching him to heal as well. Like, he has a couple of things in his past that he needs help with too. So it's one of those books where they mutually heal. They have this just like love that I just loved. I I thought it was fantastic, and I want everyone to read it if they haven't already. Another book I want to talk about is Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. You guys know I'm a huge Lauren Asher fan. I'm a stan. I'm an ambassador, okay? I love Lauren Asher. I think that she can write a book in a way that it always makes me feel something. And with this book, I gave it 4.5 stars, and it's missing one tiny piece, and I'm going to tell you what that piece is. And if it had this in there, it would have been an absolute 5-star banger of a book. Do I think it's worth the hype? Yes, absolutely. It is different from her other books. It's a first in a series, but also it has like a more serious tone with the writing, I will say. So her Formula One series is always going to be one of my favorites. I love that. I love the Dreamland Billionaire series for what it is, because it's like basically Disney billionaires, but this is like a little bit different. It's like super small town. You do see Cal from Final Offer in here. He makes a little cameo, which I loved. But our female character comes back after she is broken up with, like her engagement is broken off, or she breaks up with her boyfriend after she realizes that she can't have kids, or she chooses not to have kids because of reasons, like medical reasons. And because of that, he kind of like breaks it off with her a little bit. So she goes back to her hometown. She meets Julian, who is like her childhood friend that's been there. They have amazing banter. They have this undeniable chemistry that's always been there, but they've never acted on it. And Julian is now like a billionaire. He has his own things. They have the 2 meddling mothers, which I love. Like both of their mothers meddle. He is kind of dealing with a lot of grief. And I will say there's no third act breakup in this book, which I loved, because it's so long you think there is. I was waiting for it, but there's no third act breakup. The way that they work through things is very realistic. Like they had a kiss previously and he broke things off, and she didn't see it for what it was at the moment because she was too caught up in her own emotions, which is a very human thing to do. Like humans do that. Like you get caught up and you can't always see the reasoning for the other person and doing what they're doing. You know what I mean? And I really, really love that. Our female character is really battling with depression too. She's dealt with it for a while, especially it's come up more when she found out like she really shouldn't be having kids and she's choosing not to, and that's hard for her. And the thing that would make it perfect is if Lauren Asher dove into that emotion a little bit more. And by a little bit, I mean just like she goes through a lot. You see how days she's happy and then she has days where she's not. And I wanted just like a little bit more of that, like once they got together, showing the other side of it, that just because you're happy and in a relationship, your depression can still come up. And if we would have seen like a chapter or 2 after that, I would have been happy. Now, that's me being extremely nitpicky, because I understand depression is a back and forth thing. One day you're okay, one day you're not. And there's no rhyme or reason for that. So that would be my only critique for this book. That's it. But is it worth the hype? Yes, I think it's different. Lauren Asher is being more mature with her writing, and I really loved it. The book that you guys probably have been waiting for my thoughts on, and that is Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. I've said countless times that Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros is one of my favorite books of the year. So when this book came out, I did a whole ass reread of Fourth Wing to annotate and tab that book. Because I was like, I want to be ready. I want to make sure I understand the world. I need to go into this book knowing all the things. And I feel like this book did not live up to the hype. This book did not live up to the hype. And I'm even more confused from starting the book to the end of the book. Like I have even more questions. And the things that were supposed to be explained in this book made me even more confused. So yeah. And for this book to be 100 pages longer than Fourth Wing, I would have expected more. The first 300 pages of this book was awful. I needed an editor to come in and cut like half of that out. It was her going to classes. Like if you know the way the end of Fourth Wing ended, like the cliffhanger it ended on, you expect to dive into all of the things, right? No. She goes back to the war college. And that's not a spoiler, but like she literally goes back to the war college and is just like living her life, doing her things. Everyone's graduated. And I'm like, what? The only time that things start to get interesting is past 300 pages. And then that's even when I get more confused. More things are introduced. There's too much info dumping that you can't pay attention to the story because you're trying to understand all the information that she's dumping on you and how it is relevant and how it makes sense. And it's just a mess. It is a mess. I gave it 3.5 stars. Like I said, I have a reading vlog where I annotated Fourth Wing and I read this book. My vlog has no spoilers for Iron Flame. I do have a podcast with Jess at Peace Love Books. It's called The Bookish Life of Jess and Tori. We did a whole Fourth Wing and Iron Flame episode where we do dive into spoilers, so I'll link that in the description box below. That video and that podcast episode if you want to go check it out if you have read Iron Flame. But I personally think that this did not live up to the book. I think she rushed the publishing of it. I think she didn't have the best editor, and it makes me very sad because a lot of the things that I loved in Fourth Wing did not transition to this book, and that is like my worst nightmare when it comes to a fantasy or any series that I'm really starting in, that the second book doesn't live up to it, and it makes me not really want to continue. But will I continue? Yes, because I have to know, because this one doesn't on a cliffhanger, but it just wasn't my favorite. Those are all the books that I want to talk about for Worth the Hype, whether you should read them or not. You can let me know in the comments down below if you've read these books and what you thought of them. I would love it if you drop me a purple heart emoji for Love Redesigned, because it's one of my favorites that I've read recently and I absolutely loved it. Also, my nails are still purple. So yeah, drop me a purple heart emoji in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content from me. As always, I hope you're living a novel life, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.